Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to a brand new episode of Between Classes by Qurtuba Islamic Academy. Hosted by myself, Muhammed Yusuf Moosa, and my esteemed educator, Maulana Yousuf Pandor. On today's episode, we are joined by a rather familiar face and well-known personality. We are getting to know the man behind the Bisht, Mufti Menk. We are also joined by Maulana Muhammad Aslam Raja and Uncle Yaqub Metal, seated across me on the table, who is a close associate of the Qurtuba family. Welcome to the podcast and Jazakallah for joining us.
Barakallah feek and Salaam alaikum to one and all.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Mufti. So, before diving into the podcast, I wish to mention that we will be introducing a twist, something never seen before in our podcast, known as Rapid Fire. So stay tuned until the end to see what we have in store. So, while preparing for this podcast, I noticed that the nerves were quite high. That got me thinking, having spoken to so many venues, has Mufti still have a slight memory of his first ever speaking engagement with others? And can Mufti please elaborate?
Yeah, I do have a bit of a memory. It was a Jumu'ah talk. It was in the masjid on a Friday, and I was delivering a speech on the rules of Jumu'ah, meaning the attending and how you should attend. I was very hard, very harsh. It was written on a paper. I'd written it. It was supposed to be 15 minutes. I delivered it in half the time. And I was shaking my paper and reading in front of this masjid. The masjid was made up of 3 or 4 sections. And the first section was not so big, but I was quite young.
And where was this Mufti?
This was in Harare. It's called the town masjid, but it's the masjid of the old masjid in the town. And that was one of my first memories that I have of public speaking. Yeah.
Wow.
And Mufti, do you still get nervous when you deliver your public talks?
No, not really. Nah.
So what was the secret in you handling that nervousness?
So how to handle the nervousness? I handled it very early on in my life by, and it's a tip that I always give people who want to do public speaking. You have to realize that the people you're talking to are just like you. They are human. Don't try to impress in a way that, there's someone above me who's really going to gauge me and judge me. It's not a school or something. You're talking to people, speak in your language, improve as time passes, take constructive criticism, and that's it. Don't be frightened to make a blunder or two. You can always rectify it. It's normal. I tell people, if you're not going to make mistakes, you're not human. So if you want everything to be perfect, you're never going to get to the top, because perfection doesn't exist on earth. Try your best and give it your shot, and that's it. I mean, I'm coming to see you today. I have no clue what's going to be said, but here I am sitting. And I think you just need to chill, because we're all friends. Really.
So Mufti, you mentioned something.
Talk to me like I'm just your friend. That's it. And you'll enjoy it thoroughly. Okay. The minute you want to put me on a pedestal, no, we're going to go wrong.
So
Yes.
Mufti had mentioned that you have delivered a Jummah Salah in Harare.
Yes.
And that just cultivated a thought in my mind to wonder, where did Mufti grow up, and can Mufti elaborate a bit more on his upbringing, and what did the infamous Mufti Menk do in his youth?
Okay, so basically when I was young, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, in Harare, my father being a sheikh and imam in the masjid, and one of the ulama there, one of the the pioneers and so on. So we grew up in the compound of a masjid. I was born while my dad and them were living in the compound of the masjid. And so every day there were people coming to read Quran with my dad, and I used to listen, and we were very connected with the Quran. And I think the Quran is what actually took me where I ultimately am today. And that's what will probably, definitely take us to success if we follow it properly, the Quran, the Sunnah, and Islam, and the Deen as such. But I went to a government school, primary school, we didn't have the facility of having a Muslim orientated or Muslim ethos school or even a Muslim school. So I had madrasa outside of the school. And I remember the first year, for the first month, I think, I went to the madrasa, and after that I was at home. I was at home with my father. And then he used to take me to the Darul Ulum, which was quite far away, every evening when he used to go there. And we used to come back late at night. And following morning, you're back at school, and the same routine. Till I got to high school, I had finished my hifz. And we started doing kitabs and that, Islamic books, outside of school. So it was school with Islamic studies after that, the two. And then I come from a very strict Islamic home, meaning no TV and no messing around, it was strictly learning. That's what it was. And then we grew older, ended up getting married, and we started softening the approach of bringing people closer to Allah because of the advancement of technology and everything that was happening on earth. It had a negative side to it, and I tried to be one of the positives of it. Yeah.
And was it exhausting in any way? I mean, balancing school with madrasa and just trying to get the most out of the day.
Yes, it was very exhausting, and I think that today, what helped us in those times won't help the kids of today. We were disciplined corporally, whereas today, even with myself, I mean, we don't believe that corporal punishment would actually help as much as other means of discipline would help in certain settings, in like the school setting and so on. Even, I mean, it's something Islamically, it's spoken about in the hadith and so on. We can't deny some limited punishment that is effective. But at the same time, the whipping of someone, no, man, I mean, you think of whipping someone, no chance. Not only will the parents come at you, but the child himself or herself would actually probably distance from what you're trying to teach them and get them to do. So it was very taxing, but we kept going. And
is it perseverance that actually gets you through?
Perseverance, and when shaitan comes to you to give up something that you know you got to do, you have to keep going. When you give up, it's you who's given up, but everyone else carried on going.
Mufti, you spoke about your school, your madrasa, your father. I'm sure he was very much involved with you from a very young age, allowing you opportunity to grow, to learn. Was he the main support structure who inspired you to become a sheikh, a scholar, a mufti?
I think it was designed, it was planned by him, yes, indeed. My mother played a big role of disciplining us also. But my father taught us, and he's an educationalist, if I can put it that way. He's a mentor, a tutor. So he really, we look up to him to this day. I mean, mashallah, he's in his 90s, he's alive.
SubhanAllah.
But subhanallah, I believe that contributed in the biggest way. Yeah, correct.
Was that the main part of you wanting to become a scholar, or did somebody else perhaps whisper something in Mufti Menk's ears?
More than me wanting to become a scholar, he wanted it. So it didn't happen because I wanted it. Actually, to be very honest, it happened because he pushed me in that direction. So sometimes a bit of a push helps. I know people say, just leave it to the kids, whatever they want to do. But you're a parent, you've got to guide them, you've got to talk to them, you've got to give and take, you've got to play devil's advocate, you've got to make them think, because you can't just leave everything to a child. What field do you want? Oh, I want to become this. Have you ever thought about it? Have you spoken about it? Have you as a parent thought about and engaged with them to be able to answer questions? They'll probably change their mind because you're guiding them.
So on the topic of Mufti's childhood, does Mufti Menk have any intriguing stories or maybe comical incidents that you maybe can share with the viewers?
There's a lot. There's a ton of them. You mean when I travel? There's, so many different departments of my life where every day something happens, and it's just, I like to create a laugh out of it because I don't take things too seriously. If you take negatives too seriously, you become depressed. As you grow up the ladder, there will be a lot of negativity that you'll notice and pick up. Ignore it. If you're a leader, you won't bother what's happening elsewhere. You ignore the noise. So yeah, sometimes you watch people talk about you, and it's so wrong what they're saying, and there's no point of clarifying it because they don't want a clarification. You just have to laugh at it and move on, in all honesty. But specifics, there's a lot. I know people come to me and say, you look just like Mufti Menk. I say, yeah, I know I look like him. I know everyone says that. And they say, yeah, and then they walk away. And they believe, I saw someone looking just like Mufti Menk, because they can't believe that you're actually right there, but you're a human. I tell Uncle Yaqub here that, Uncle Yaqub, don't get excited. I'm just a human like you, man. Come on. You're my elder. Just now he opened the door for me, closed the door for me. I said, what are you doing this for, man? But that's what happens. Some people, out of respect, out of love, but sometimes they just, overwhelmed because they've benefited from you for many, many years. They can't believe you right there.
So with great leadership comes humility.
I hope so. Meaning, I've seen people who are leaders and they have no humility at all. But they like political leaders and so on. And sometimes even religious leaders, some of them become arrogant. May Allah protect us from it. I mean, I'm saying this, but we're no perfect. At the same time, I try my best to be with everyone just like a normal, natural human being. I don't claim to be perfect, but I try to practice what I preach to the best of my abilities.
So Mufti, you were talking about traveling and how somebody comes up and, are you Mufti Menk? That reminds us...
No, you look like Mufti Menk.
You look like Mufti Menk.
Yes.
That reminds us, you've just returned from Indonesia and Medina Sharif lately. When you sit on your seat, what's the routine like, the flight routine?
And I like to sleep on a plane. So I normally tell the steward or air hostess, listen, give me some earplugs and that's it. Or I have my own a lot of the times. And I don't want to eat. I just have some water. If I get up early, I might ask for a cup of tea, but I come sleep. I'll give you an example. I slept for 7 hours yesterday, straight. And by the time I got up, they were about to land, and I said, yeah, well done. That's it. It's because of how exhausting life is. If you tell me I'm here this morning, I haven't had a proper sleep, but I'm here. And never mind about the sleep, it will come. It will come at some point, but it's fine. My eyes may be red, they may not be. It's not normally me, but it's okay. Get it done and it's fine. So the routine is pretty simple. It's not something, that is complicated. I'm not into food or drink or snacks or meal. You want to chase me away, offer me food, and I'm gone.
And how does Mufti cope with dealing with family and travel at the same time?
That's the most difficult thing ever. I'm glad that I have a family that's supportive of the work I do. If you look at expats who work in the Middle East or other countries, and they come from India, Pakistan, Africa, wherever, they leave their families for years. And they go out to earn a little bit of money to send back to their families. In my case, it's not leaving your family for years, just for a few weeks at a time. So you're going to be with them anyway, but they have to sacrifice the fact that you're not there. We compensate by the will of Allah through technology that Allah's given us, and that's video calls and so on a daily basis, regular basis. You communicate with them, you talk to them. So it's not like before where it's so hard to even phone and communicate. Nowadays you can talk to them every so often. Anything they need, they can call you, you can call someone and get things done. So alhamdulillah, it's not so bad, but that's the biggest challenge that I have is juggling the families and yes. And I have children who are married as well with grandchildren, so it's there. I mean, I'm going to be going to Cape Town just to see my granddaughter, just discreetly, in and out. Because the minute people know you're there, you defeat the whole purpose of going to see your family, because it becomes about everyone else.
On the topic of family, Mufti, some people say that it's work, or others say that I am going for deen, so it's fine, I have to leave my family, it's a sacrifice. How would Mufti Menk reply to that?
I think looking after your family is fardu ain, and going out is not. Sometimes it's a sunnah, or it's not fardu ain. It's not even fardu kifaya, in the sense that for you, or let's say the da'wah that's there is a sunnah for everyone, right? To equate the two. If it was jihad fi sabilillah, it's a different story. If you're saying I'm going out for the deen and there's something pressing at home, you're actually wrong. All the scholars across the board have always said that. There are ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ, even in the case of jihad, has asked some of the companions to stay back because of certain reasons. So looking after your family is part of pleasing Allah. Spending time with your spouse, giving them importance, your children, and looking to their needs and helping them is part of your duty unto Allah. There are times when I have said no to some commitments because family had already planned something, or I needed to get something done. It's fine. So that's what happens. You can't use the excuse to say, well, I'm going out because it's for the sake of Allah, so I'm not bothered about what you think. Because looking after family needs is also for the sake of Allah. And it's also the deen of Allah. So this is where a lot of people lose their homes, and a lot of people become frustrated because you blackmailing them religiously by using religion in order to run away from the duties that are a little bit more pressing. If anything, your family's needs, you are the one who's probably the only person who can fulfill those things. Whereas the deen, others could also do parts of it. I'm not saying don't do it, but I mean learn to
strike a balance.
Strike the correct balance. Correct.
And what Mufti has just mentioned is quite marvelous, especially because it's perfectly displayed in the life of our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I mean, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the greatest man to ever embody that family relationships.
Yes.
Can Mufti maybe explain on how we how the viewers sitting at home and how we sitting over here can maybe try to better our personal family relationships through the sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam?
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I think one of the most important things I figured out is if you were to invest in the correct use of the tongue, you'd solve 95% of your problems. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. O you who believe, be conscious of Allah and say that which is upright. When I say invest in the use of the tongue, learn to go out of your way to say beautiful, loving, caring, romantic words, words that appeal to the right people. I mean, your spouse, to a degree, you say different things to her, or in the case of a female, to him. And your children, your parents, you have to learn to say good words. A lot of us say cutting things. We speak in such a cutting. When we're religious, people look at us, you're dressed properly, you're reading salah 5 times a day, but you are failing totally and dismally when it comes to the qulu qawlan sadidan part of your life. And that is 95% of our problems are connected to the fact that you don't know how to use your tongue. You're swearing someone, abusing them, or even if you're saying something, you're saying it in such a cutting way. You know, you're destroying a person's ego. I normally tell people, you see, you get married, that's somebody's daughter. You can disagree with her, but do it respectfully. She might be a spoilt person in her own home. You might want to correct it, but don't be so cutting that you're destroying her, making her cry, in a way that she feels abused. But tell her, listen, we've got to talk about certain things because this is how it needs to be, and be very respectful about it. So I think if you're asking me about relationships and the sunnah and learning from it, the Prophet ﷺ never ever swore and abused people, never, not once. And this is why sometimes people in the name of religion, they abuse others. You may or may not have seen, it's one of the problems of the age. A scholar disagrees with another and suddenly he swears him in public. I mean, that's nowhere near Islam, let alone the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You can't swear, you can't abuse, you can't use bad words and so on. So yeah, I think that's something I take, and I try never to abuse someone. Inshallah, you won't find me, or should I say, you'll find that I have invested a lot in trying to correct the way I speak.
The beauty of a man is on the way he speaks. It's really wonderful. So, Mufti, we were talking a bit about travel, and I just want to go back to that point and find out what is Mufti Menk's favorite travel destination. I mean, you've been all around the world, but what is your favorite?
It's unfair to ask a Muslim that because Makkah and Medina have to be your favorite. Medina and Makkah, Yes, so yes. From that aspect, yes, I try now that the visa issue and all of that seems to be so favorable to us. We make use of it. Try and visit as often as possible. Whenever I'm in the region, get a visit done, umrah done, and mashallah, it's always rejuvenating. And one thing I've done is I stopped counting. People say, how many umrahs and hajjas have you done? I say, I don't know. Because I feel there's no point in counting. I'm not doing it to count. We're just doing it because ibadah has to get done. I mean, imagine if I ask you, how many salahs have you done? I mean, we don't count it. We just do our salah.
Makkah and Medina is obviously on top of it, but there has to be a different destination.
You know what? Parts of England are really, I enjoy visiting some parts of England. and during different times of the year, because the weather is sometimes ridiculous. But every country has its speciality. Every country has its speciality. Nigeria is an amazing place. It opened my eyes to a lot, because people used to say this place is very dangerous and very this, and I found some of the best Muslims there as well. I mean, not to say there are no crooks or something. They probably are. There are scammers and con artists, but Pakistan's also a lovely place. Similar issues, mashallah. Yeah. By the way, Cape Town's quite nice.
And Mufti has obviously been around the world. You mentioned England, Nigeria. Is there any particular cuisine that you are fond of, or which one do you prefer above the rest?
So, like I said, I'm not a foodie. I'm not into food. I'll enjoy good food, but I can go for a day or two or even 3 without having really eaten a meal, so to speak. Just a little bit here and there, snacks or whatever. But what I would enjoy generally is Arabic food, perhaps Indo-Pak cuisine that is not spicy. I can't eat spicy food. I can't eat spicy food to save my life. Honestly, the chili would actually, it would mess my health up completely. So I can't have chili food and too spicy food. I get heartburn and it messes me up. So yeah.
I think I actually share with that issue. I cannot eat spicy food.
Well done, well done. You know what I told my wife once? I said that if something was haram, I think it would have been this. No, this level of spice. Because sometimes, it becomes a bit hectic. But nonetheless, I think I enjoy a variety of food for as long as it's tasting decent. I'm not an exotic, what do they call them? A foodie that samples.
Yeah.
They call it adventurous. I'm not adventurous when it comes to food. Someone say, did you try this? And they came up with sushi and all that. I'm not a sushi guy. Cook the damn thing and give it to me. Allahu Akbar. Allah forgive us.
And Mufti, tell us about the little milk that you had in your pocket at one of your recent trips.
Oh, the milk. You want to see the milk? So when I'm traveling, sometimes, you have powdered milk that they give you in a powder form, and it's so nice tea, but they mess it up with the powder they put in it. So sometimes, a lot of the times, I just carry my own. I know where I'm going, and I carry my own little sachets of evaporated milk in my pocket. And it's so nice because they offer you tea, and next thing you're pulling it out, they don't notice it unless you tell them this. And you push it in, and you enjoy the tea rather than putting powder and tasting a powdered thing. It messed it up, So I'm a tea man, that's true. If you want to offer me tea, I wouldn't mind.
Our viewers, while our co-host Muhammed Yusuf is excited about the different foods and adventures and travelings of Mufti Menk, I'd like to get into something that I would like to share and ask with Mufti Menk.
Yes.
From food to clothes.
Yes.
Mufti Menk always looks stunning. And is there a special reason for the way he dresses? I mean, we've lost count in the colours of the jubbas Mufti Menk has.
There are not so many actually, but they're there. So basically, I believe that if you want to inspire people, and if you want them to look at you as a role model, you need to be neat, you need to be clean, you need to be smart, you need to be presentable, you need to be, a person who speaks in a nice way. So all this is part of you by extension. People know you, that okay, this person is like this, like this, like this. You don't want to come across shabby. You don't want to come across, who's a person who doesn't take care of himself. You want to appeal to a cross section of a crowd, the presidents and heads of state, all the way down to a beggar on the street. If I go to the mall near my house, for example, chances are the wardens who look after the vehicles, a lot of them say, hey boss, I know you from TikTok. I say, yeah, it's me. Yeah, wow, okay, how are you? So you appeal to that guy, and at the same time you visit a country and head of state wants to meet you. And you know the guy and perhaps his families.
On the point of the dressing, one is we'd like to know which one is Mufti Menk's favorite color.
White.
White.
Flat. Straight.
But the reason for choosing this beautiful color that we have with us today?
Because the advert that Maulana Yusuf Rawat and them put out had these colors. So I got up this morning, I saw that advert, I said, well, I got this color, let me put it on. I said, it will look legit. It's just a little thing for them to notice.
So if the scarf is on point, what about your jovial spirit, still maintaining your Islamic identity? I mean, you were skydiving a few weeks back, and really that was absolutely amazing to us. So how can young people maintain their identity while still having that fun?
Look, you can have whatever fun you want for as long as it's not haram. So one of the reasons why I do it is, firstly, I'm an adrenaline junkie. That fear factor gives us a kick. Secondly, to inspire people to say, look, you can have a balanced life. Doesn't mean that because you're religious or you're learning your faith or whatever, so that you need to divorce yourself from all of this. I know there are some people who just probably sit with their books and that's it and it's over. But when you have family members, sometimes you do it not because of you, but because they need recreation. If you're not going to provide alternative, suitable recreation for them, they'll probably end up doing the wrong things behind your back. So I'd rather have a scenario where I'm the leader in that than the other way around.
Considering that you love doing all of this, the phone that takes that magnificent pictures and videos and selfies, how does it operate?
It's simple. I got an S21 Ultra. That's what I have. It's not even the latest. Every time I have an S24 that I need to shift. I've had it for the last 8 months and I've got it with me. But I haven't had the time to shift my stuff from this to that. And people might say, well, it doesn't take long. No, it does. I've got about how many gigabytes of stuff in there, and I don't want to externally and this, and I want to do it on my own. So let me take my time. And by the time, so I've just stuck with that phone.
So do you do everything yourself, or do you have like a team that kind of manages your
I
social media?
I do a lot of stuff myself, but I do have teams now.
Okay.
Now we've developed to a degree where there's people doing things for you. I'd still love to grow that team. I'd love to grow the team because it would help in a big way. I'd love someone to take over my social media almost completely and totally. I mean, I'll give you an example. Instagram has more than 200,000 followers of mine on hold.
Sure.
And they just say, well, this could be spam. And I have to individually approve each one. Otherwise, in 30 days, they get deleted. So every day, and I didn't know this, but I was thinking, why are we losing followers here? And the reason is, every day they're dropping someone from 30 days ago. And like there's a few thousand that join a day. So I need someone who would be able to manually approve 180 to 200,000 people.
Wow.
And who's going to do that? So I'm going to lose them so far. And if you say, I'll do it, can I trust you with my passwords? It's real. So there are people who do have access to it, but they're not mandated to do that. See, when I have a team, there's a few guys who do have my Instagram passwords and whatever else, all my social media, but they do certain things on there. Allah make it easy. I'm just giving you one example.
And Mufti, what do you envision to have your social media in the future? So what goals would you like to reach using social media platforms?
You won't believe what I'm going to say. You won't believe. This morning I thought about it. I said, I'd like to see 50 of our youngsters overtake me. Wallahi. Because I've passed my sell-by date. I've been at this for 25 years. Right? Now we need to see youngsters who come and overtake you, and we'll be excited, we'll prop you up, we'll support you, we'll push you, and you got to go and you got to learn. There's people who've done a PhD in Nigeria at one of the universities, a study of Mufti Menk's method in da'wah.
Wow.
And they actually studied every detail that I didn't even pick up myself. And it boils down to respecting others. If you want a message to be international, you've got to think international. And don't bother about small little local things. Minor. Don't even turn towards it. It's too small. They haven't swam in the waters you're swimming in. They don't even know what it's all about. They have no clue that an ocean exists beyond their swimming pool. So to be able to succeed, you need to build others. I'm trying hard. But sometimes people don't want it. And sometimes I'm a person, I'd love to see people overtake me big time, big time. And that's my dream. And it sounds very crazy, but if you're working for Allah, that's your boss. We're all working for the same boss here. It's not like you're going to take from my company. We are the same company. We're building the company. Why should I be jealous of you or hate on you or throw negative tantrums about you in public when literally we're working for the same company?
And I would assume that probably boils down to the concepts of muhabba and love and brotherhood that our religion kind of lobbies in such a beautiful way. Can Mufti please expand on that?
Exactly, two things. One is the love, the mahabba, like you say, and and two is the sadaqah jariyah. If I prop you up, guess what? Without me working, I'm getting a full reward of whatever you're doing. So people don't look at it that way. I mean, why am I in it? I'm in it for the sake of Allah. Yes, there's a lot that I might have benefited my own way, but those were perks that came. It's not the main aim of what happens. And I'm not focused on it. Like I told you earlier, I'm not into food and drink and all that. I'm not into the luxuries. Although I have quite a bit. I'm not into watches. I could be having a Rolex on here, but I'm not into it. And it's not like it's haram, by the way. But I felt myself inclining towards these things, distracting me. I said, you know what, leave it. Your phones and your what's it called, the pens and whatever. Oh yeah, one blunt. I mean, I have, and I probably give it away a lot of the times. Nonetheless, the point I want to raise is, when we think of the mahabba between us, we've also got to think of how you will get a reward for every single thing that a person you encouraged to do something, does. Whatever they do, you're getting a full reward, and as they grow, and you're retired now, all those rewards you are clocking.
And that comes with pressure also, being in the limelight, giving different discourses, programs, talks. How does Mufti Menk deal with the negativity?
I don't deal with it. I leave it to Allah to deal with it. Have you ever seen me dealing with the negativity?
Nope.
I don't mind. If you say something about me that's constructive, and I will take it on board, but if you say something about me that without knowledge or in a derogatory way, I will ignore it.
So it really boils down to...
And I promise you, I don't mind it. It's healthy. It's healthy when people say bad things about you. And secondly is, they're probably good people. They're doing some good work in their lives as well. So don't mow them down, because maybe someone else will be guided through whatever they've said, and if you're going to mow them down totally because of their negativity against you, what about the positives they've got in another way? That type of thinking is rare. And I know it's rare, because when I tell people this, they say, I think you're a bit crazy. I say, no, I'm not. I mean, I know some seniors, I consider them still seniors. They don't like me anymore. So what? You're still a senior. I have respect for you, but I excuse you for what you said against me. It's unfortunate. What else? And I move on.
100%.
If you're swimming in the ocean, I mean, you're going to keep swimming. If you stop swimming, you'll drown. Yeah, you can't afford to look
It's your perspective.
the guy screaming on the side there. MashaAllah.
So, if you were to meet the most perfect of human beings, our beloved master and our leader, the greatest of creation, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how would that conversation go about?
You know, I was asked this question once before, some time back, and I said, I think I wouldn't even talk. I'd wait for him to say whatever he wants to say. I think we have failed as an ummah in a lot of ways. If you just look at Gaza alone, and the Palestinian cause alone, I mean, look at this ummah of so many billion.
Yes.
What answer are you going to give? So I think it's embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. And for this reason, I think, every time there is a group of people that thinks we're the only Muslims on earth, I feel sorry for the ummah at large, because in order to solve problems of the ummah, we need to be together, and we need to know within a certain framework, we need to set aside our differences. I'm not saying that the differences become irrelevant, but we can live with them and respect the difference and say, you know what, I don't agree with XYZ, but I respect you. As an ummah, we're going to be together. You're still a Muslim. The problems are small things. We take them out of the deen. So now, who's left in the deen? You and the 5 people with you. That's it. So how is the ummah going to benefit? I always say the enemy, what damage they could do, we're doing a better job. We're damaging it worse. So learn to love people. Learn to respect and appreciate people. Learn to understand they're all an ummah. We all love the Prophet ﷺ. When you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah ﷺ, you love him. I won't come and claim you don't love him just because you disagree on one or two things. No, you love him. I know you love him. And sometimes people express that love in different ways. So it's tricky. If I were to meet him, I wouldn't even know what to say.
It's absolutely amazing. The love of the Prophet ﷺ has created such a beautiful tradition amongst generations. I mean, every second on this earth, the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned. So Mufti spoke a bit on loving the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In what ways can we increase that love to a point where we become infatuated with it?
You see, it's easy to say, I love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's one litmus test. How close are you to his teachings? That's all. There's nothing else. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِ. In fact, if you love Allah, he says, just follow me to prove your love to Allah. So, you can improve on your dress code, you can improve on your akhlaq, you can improve on your relationship with Allah, primarily to begin with. Your worship, your pillars of Islam, and so you can polish yourself as a person, you can care for the Ummah. The Prophet ﷺ used to fulfill every single department of activity that there was and of responsibility there was in the Ummah himself as a Nabi. With us, we can do one or two things. I mean, if you study my life, I'm probably doing 2 things or 3. Anyone else's lives, they're doing 2 or 3 things. We are not prophets. We don't have that divine assistance. So let's respect each other. You're doing something, that one's a teacher, that one's, for example, a coach. Physical education. What do they call it? PT, physical training. A coach. Hey, so what? They're doing a good job. Appreciate them. It doesn't mean because I'm teaching Quran, I'm superior. They are doing something that's also needed. It's a different. That one's a doctor. This one's an accountant. This one is a whatever. That one's a vet, a veterinary. So what? This is a respect each other. Understand this diversity is needed in the Ummah for an Ummah to be self-sufficient. But we can't just belittle people just because of them not doing what I thought they should be doing. So it's really tricky, you know.
Keeping with the Prophet ﷺ and his teachings, there was always this unique way of how he would address and that smile that he had. And we notice Mufti Menk has a similar, if not that style of with the smile. And many people ask these questions that you find a lot of people in the world, they go through lots of problems, but they still maintain the smile.
It's difficult to say similar because obviously he's on another level altogether. But I'd like to think inspired by. That's probably a better way of wording it. But nonetheless, yes, a smile it hides your issues, but it's also part of the solution. Where if I've got issues and problems and I'm always positive, those problems are made small. They diminish simply because of my positivity. If I talk to someone, I meet someone, be it at an airport, in a shopping mall, wherever, it must be a pleasant experience. You must have a pleasant experience. If you've seen me somewhere, it must be a pleasant experience. That interaction must be something unique. Why? Because that's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. So I'd go out of my way. Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Everything good? Oh, little ones, you ask them, what's your name? How old are you? I don't need to know this. I'm only asking them to create that little bond and to make them feel important. And that's all. They're not my kids. Oh, you're in grade 4. Oh, wow, that's amazing, man. You know, something like this. All these words are only to empower them, to make them feel there's meaning in the Ummah. I mean, people are so gloomy. Each one's got so many issues, financial and family and this and that and your examinations. And we all would be so depressed if we had to just think about the issues we have. Everyone would be gloomy, look at each other and you're more gloomy because the other guy's face is now making you be more. But so what? This is the world. These are the challenges. Never mind. You've got 10 issues, it's okay. We'll go through them one by one and we might not succeed in a few of them, big deal. So don't take things so seriously that it affects you in that way. So to put on a smile for the sake of Allah is an ibadah, it's an act of worship. You might catch me sometimes slightly saddened. There are a few things that would sadden us and so on, especially when you watch the condition of the Ummah, like I spoke about Palestine earlier. It's something that's, it's there. We can't deny it. It's the first thing that's bothering us at the moment. But it has also diminished some of our own issues to think, well, what's my issue compared to what they have, you know?
So speaking of these issues, so Mufti did mention the issue in Gaza. That's obviously something that plays a massive role in everybody's life. If there was another issue throughout the world that you could eradicate, what would that be?
Kashmir issue, there's so many other issues. There's right now as we talk, there's issues in Burma, Bangladesh, parts of Sudan. Sudan is a major issue. These issues in Syria, Yemen, wherever they are, it's not nice. We don't want war, and we don't want our brothers and sisters to be suffering. So if I could help, I would. If you say, the issues you would solve, we would. But the solution is not in my hands, and we are bothered. People say, "Oh, but why don't you say this?" We do say things. Social media works in a way where sometimes they delete your posts because they don't want it to go further. And sometimes they penalize you in different ways. And sometimes the algorithm doesn't allow certain posts of yours to go out. So although you posted things, people might say, but you didn't talk about this. Another thing is, I'm not an activist, but every Muslim, it's part of their concern. Allah make it easy.
Ameen.
So, Mufti, moving to a rather lighter note, is there one company in the world, anything, any field that you would maybe like to own?
Whoa, I've never been asked that question ever. One company that I'd like to own. I don't know. Hey, wow, that's an amazing question, because I think, you see, that's a tough one. Probably a real estate company.
Okay.
Yeah, no particular one, but probably a real estate company, where property, and you can help people come in and invest and grow, and in a halal way, because real estate, buying and selling or renting and leasing and so on, is predominantly halal. The interest factor, and that is normally, it's rent that I'm collecting and whatever else. So yeah, that would be something good. Inshallah, who knows? One day it might happen.
So before we move on to the rapid fire segment, if you were to give advice to those who are going through any challenges or sadness throughout the world, what would you say?
Never lose hope in the mercy of Allah. Allah will recompense you for every droplet of your pain and your sadness. If not in this world, then in the hereafter. So don't ever lose hope in the mercy of Allah, because the pain and the sadness is inevitable. In this world, it's all about pain and sadness. We will always have difficult days, difficult times. But Allah says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, we will test you. So every one of us is going to be tested with so many different things. So don't give up. And even if it is to the point of death, don't give up. Because hope itself is such a big act of worship that through it you can earn paradise. If I've just had hope in the mercy of Allah, even though I'm terminally ill, I would get Jannah because I hoped and I believed in the power of Allah. When there's a person who's terminally ill and the doctor says you've got 3 days to live, and they're dying, and they tell themselves, Allah can cure me. And on the last breath they're still saying, Allah can cure me. What's that? That's yaqeen. That's a high-end act of worship. Through that alone, Allah can grant them Jannah.
And how can we reach that level of iman, to the point where even in our stages of death, we are uttering the name of Allah?
I think dedication, knowledge, knowing who Allah is, being in the right company, not being too materialistic, also frequenting the masajid and being serious about your prayer, looking at others who are struggling and suffering, and understanding that we're all going back to Allah, and the winners are those who get Jannah. When you're in Jannah, everything else becomes irrelevant. Imagine you got whatever you desire. Halas, why would you want to punish someone else? Leave them. Let them do their thing. I always say, these guys who attack you and these guys who say negative, may Allah give them Jannah. Because I tell you what, if I have my Jannah, I don't care what they're getting. I got mine. You can have it. It's okay, fine. Yeah.
That's the main goal.
And if someone says, what's your favorite car? I say it's an S whatever. Mercedes Benz S600 whatever. If I've got that car, it's okay if another 50 people have it. I got my favorite car. It's done.
May Allah reward you and reward all those involved in the work, and accept all of us for the services of His deen.
Ameen.
So Mufti, we are now approaching the moment that some of our viewers have literally joined to watch, and we're going to play a game known as Rapid Fire.
Before you go rapid fire, this was rapid tea. It was nice. It was very nice tea, mashallah.
So
It's not sponsored by Rainbow.
Jazakallah to those who have brought it. It was so thoughtful of them. Yeah, mashallah.
So the game basically works in the sense that we're going to pose choices to Mufti between two different topics or things, something like that. And Mufti has to immediately give an answer. So immediately. These may get a bit tricky. I
left school because I didn't want all this.
Okay, so Bismillah, let's begin. Would you rather? Okay, I think the Sanya was answered, but would you rather tea or coffee?
Tea.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Pen or pencil?
Pencil.
Indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
City or countryside?
City.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Calling or texting?
Calling.
Road trip or plane?
Road trip.
Soccer or cricket?
Football. Soccer.
Sweet or sour?
Sweet.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
BMW or Mercedes?
Mercedes.
Ronaldo or Messi?
Hey, that's a tricky one. Probably Ronaldo.
Muhammad Ali or Khabib?
They're different, man. But okay, Muhammad Ali's passed away, so Khabib.
Okay. Ice cream in a cup or ice cream in a cone?
A cup.
So Mufti Menk is clearly doing such a great job. Let's throw in some South African ones. A Zarbel or Lens?
Lens, I'm married.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Durban or Joburg accent?
Durban accent.
South Africa or Zimbabwe?
The border between the two.
Machachos or Nando's?
Nando's, unfortunately.
Sheikh Hudhaifi or Sheikh Badr Turki?
Badr Turki.
Sheikh Sudais or Sheikh Shuraim?
Shuraim.
Wonderful.
Wow, on the spot Mufti Menk gives the answers.
Wow, absolutely wonderful, Mufti. So unfortunately, time does not permit us to go on forever, although we would really, really love to. So before we end, we have a...
That was rapid, but it wasn't fire. Because I thought you were going to ask me some tough ones, but mashallah, they were okay. Thanks for going easy on me.
Not a problem.
Yes.
So Mufti, this is a book known as the podcast book.
Yeah.
So how it works is the previous participant or the previous guest basically writes down a question for the one
Who's coming afterwards?
the proceeding guest, and he has to answer, he or she has to answer that question and leave one for the following guest, not knowing who they are.
Okay.
So if Mufti can please read out those questions over here and please answer them.
Both questions or one?
Choose anyone. Both, one, up to you, Mufti.
Okay. Do I read the name or I just leave it? Okay. It says here, what motivates you to undertake difficult challenges that life throws at you? The pleasure of Allah. I'll do that in order to please Allah, to prove, to show Allah that I'm going to do what you've asked me to do. And I'm going to shine with your help. That would motivate me straight, because everything that I do and every time there's a challenge, I always know that it's only the help of Allah that's going to make me, manage and come out of this, and not only ordinary coming out, but with flying colors. And secondly, it's because Allah's given you the ability, so use those abilities. That's part of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah's given you the brains, the ability, the whatever, the means, the capacity, and go for it. And then that's part of thanking Allah by using that faculty in a nice way. So there we go. No. Nice question.
And would Mufti like to answer the second one as well?
The second one says, what did you learn by doing, and then it says X underlined. I'm guessing X is
Up to you to fulfill.
something. What did you learn by doing hifz? Right? I can tell you what I learned by doing hifz. I learned that when you do hifz, that's the memorizing of the Quran, and this is, what I'm going to say is so big. I don't think people have said it the way I'm going to say it now. I haven't said it before. It polishes up different parts of your brain. It develops parts of your brain that nothing else develops. So a hafiz of the Quran, who is dead serious about his hifz, has used his brain and different parts of it far more than others. So he can face lots of challenges in life and ace them because he's already so gifted by Allah. I mean, to know that entire book top to bottom without blunder or very few little errors here and there, which would be corrected obviously, is a miracle. And Allah would never tell you or encourage you to memorize the Quran unless there was something He was going to give you in return that nobody on earth would have except those similar to you. And I believe that. So those who want to do hifz would actually be doing a favor to themselves. And I remember when I was young, one of the uncles told me, when you memorize the Quran, it's like sharpening a knife. It will slice through anything after that. You got a blunt knife, nothing's going to happen. So I do believe that when you memorize the Quran, you learn its meaning and you master the every reason why the verses were revealed, and you know the meaning fully. It builds you to the degree where your life is so beautiful, with its problems, with its challenges, with your haters, with your whatever. All of that is, wow, this is my beautiful life. Amazing collection of pluses and minuses. And here I am navigating through it until the day I will meet with Allah. You have hope.
Stemming from the Quran.
Yes, the Quran. So hifz is something that, you just said X here, but it came to my mind. Hifz is something really powerful. And I hope this serves as a motivation for those who are planning or those who would like to do it, to say, go for it. And don't give up. Shaitan wants you to give up. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Allah says, we've made it easy for you to memorize, to understand the Quran. Is anyone going to do that? And so we've got to say, yes, I'm the one. I'm one of them who's going to be doing it. Let's go for it. No matter how old you are. Yeah. Now I got to write my question here.
Yes.
So is it okay if I don't write my name? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
I just put here. Okay, I'll ask one question, right? There we go. Okay, there goes. It's something that came to my mind now.
Okay, and we're going to keep this a secret for the very next episode of our podcast. A huge jazakallah to Mufti Menk for joining us today. We hope this is the first of many enlightening conversations on the podcast, and that the Almighty Allah takes us from strength to strength in this world and the hereafter. A massive jazakallah to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share and drop us a comment. Let us know what topics you would like to see in the future. Jazakallah.